as promised, here is part 2 of wiring this trailer. If you guys missed part 1, go check it out. We got our new junction box in, everything routed. Everything's pretty clean, so we got our piece down in there. We have all of our wiring run through up here. I haven't taken this wire off yet, and it runs cleanly through the inside of the frame down here. You can see it runs the whole way up. I have it going over on each of the square beams here. All of this, that's a closed channel, so any of one of them, it goes up and over. You guys can see here is our junction box, and we've already started wiring the brakes in yesterday's video, as you guys will see there. T's in, so we have the front brakes already on, so they're all done. Now, since the video just got posted, I'm waiting on your suggestions, which I'll know by the end of the video because it's past noon, so about getting another junction box back here. So all that's done. Now we got to get all the tools back out and go over the rest of it. There's our pile of wiring right there, and then this here is all of the wiring for every one of the side marker lights on each side. So we're gonna have to get all that pulled out. I want everything done today so that we can get back to work tomorrow. We still haven't booked anything, and for good reason. I'm gonna go over and talk to you guys right now about this, why I haven't booked anything for today. Obviously today I needed to get the trailer done. So as you guys know, inflation is at a pretty high amount. Fuel prices are up there, maintenance cost is up there, and anybody with new trucks that need parts, even with new trailers, some of these parts are getting harder and harder to find. So I've been getting the comment a lot, you know, you should go get a new truck. And honestly, at this point in time, with the way everything is, I'm surprised a lot of people with new trucks are actually making it right now. Considering fuel and all that, you have to be running some seriously good loads to stay in. I'm not going anywhere anytime soon, but at the same time, it's like, if I make the amount of money I make a week, the overhead is so much higher. I think it cost me $500 to fill my tank the other day. Now, granted, that's Pennsylvania prices. Imagine, you know, I could probably get that down if I was running OTR and I was doing other things. But right now, as a local driver, I definitely need some other sources of income to kind of offset that so that I personally don't fail. Because there's other companies out there right now that are going under, and they've been in longer than I have even. Like, it's just crazy to think about that. So just keep that in mind if you're gonna come out here and you're gonna try to run. If you go and buy a brand new truck right now and try to come out here and run with no experience, I'm gonna say 99.9% of the chance you are gonna fail. If you wanna go broke, come into this industry right now with a brand new truck with no experience. It's definitely gonna be hard. Something I wanna talk about in the beginning of this video, but yeah, like I said, we are gonna get, I gotta get all my tools that I'm gonna use, I set on the car seat, so we're taking all that back. So let's go get the wiring on the brakes done. And you guys can see here, if I hit the brakes, I don't know what the deal with that is. Yeah, so obviously it's gonna stay at 0, but we do have working brakes, the front ones. So we just need to tee in the last 4. And then I gotta go get a torch so that I can do the heat shrink and all that. But besides that, should be relatively easy of a day, since the majority of it has been done. Now we just got to get the back tail lights and all that stuff in. All right, so we got some bad news. I'm gonna have to start ordering lights here. So what I have found, this marker light back here for this one is, you can see the connector pulled out, whereas like this one here, see how it has 2 nubs coming out. So I'm gonna order some of these. I have a few on Amazon I'm gonna be ordering that are white, so to replace any of them, any of the red ones will be white. What I think I'm gonna have to do is I'll wire in the back ones a while, and then the front one I'm gonna order the turn signal, so I'll have to cut this bracket off and put a longer one on here, so that way this light here specifically can be a turn signal, which is what I want, safety feature and whatnot. With this trailer so long, absolutely a turn signal should be necessary. So like I was saying in one of my other videos, there will be a turn signal up there on the mirrors when I get my new Ford mirrors, and a turn signal back here, so you'll be able to see the turn signal from this side, the front side, the back side, any which way. We also have, I didn't order these yet, But right about here, we're going to be putting lights on the side to go along with the lights down here, which this one got pushed in. I need to fix that, which we're going to be working on today anyway. That'll be the scoop there. So I don't think that the wiring is going to be done today because I made a whoopsie and I only ordered, I thought I ordered enough. It was 30 feet of that two-way wire and it only comes back to this break here, so I can't wire this break in. So I need, unless I want to reuse some of the old wiring, which seems fine, but I need to order more wiring is what I'm finding out. More wires, we need more lights, and that's pretty much what I know at this point. So digging into it, I'm gonna start working on getting these two lights wired into the junction box, so these two will work, and then after that we will start working on the rest of the side marker lights. And the last thing we're going to do is the turn signals. I haven't done anything with this yet. You guys can see just how much there is. So this whole thing runs down in here. All I would have to do is connect this up into the junction box, and that would give me all of the running lights. So depending on how much time I have will determine if I do that or we run them into this junction box back here. So, which I did remember saying, I do want to keep all of the side marker ones. I want to keep them up at that junction box. All right, so here's why you can never make assumptions, right? So I started wiring in the lights and everything, and I was getting confused because, you know, brown right here should be a running light, right? And I actually pulled up and started going through this because I'm like, I'm not getting any power to that. And I come up here and I'm like, I'm doing my measurements and whatnot, and it turns out green on this 7-way harness is the running lights. Okay, so I'm like, okay, so we started using our multimeter and figuring out, well, green's the running light, one of these is left and one of these is right. Brown is, I think, is left, whereas red is right, and then this one's middle. So that kind of threw me off there. But to verify, yeah, we have power to everything we should. All the fuses are good. So what I am finding out is come over here, turn everything on, we'll get the 4 ways coming on. All the lights, they all work, minus this one for some reason. There we go. It keeps turning off. And then we also have left and right. I just put the 4 ways on, you know, to use as an example, so you guys can see we have lights. Okay, I'm gonna get a ton of things on order now. I'm gonna order a bunch of these 2 prongs. I'm gonna order a bunch of 3 prongs for like the backs back here, and I'm going to order some bulbs and some turn signals. So anything that needs replaced, we're just going to start ordering stuff online now, so that way we have it when stuff does fail. So that will be great. Today I'm not going to wire in the 2 fronts since they're going to get a turn signal. I'll wait on that. I don't think I'll get in any problems without having them because DOT's never said anything about it. These 2 I will definitely get going today because I can, just because like I'll have the wiring for that, all that. I'm gonna order more brake wire. Actually, I'm gonna order a shitload of that and a shitload of connectors. So I won't be able to get this as perfect as I wanted today. I thought I ordered everything I need. I got it a little off, but not a big deal. You know, it's just one of those things. I thought I had enough, I didn't. On the bright side, we do have working trailer lights. So I'll have to figure out what's going on with that light down there in the center. But besides that, let's get this back to buttoned up. You guys can see I did end up running the wire that was up here. I cut off what I didn't need, and I'm running this harness separate. So I will run that in down the road. Oh, well, I found out where my screwdriver was. I lost that yesterday. And get the stuff on order, and then we'll tee those into a junction box. Now a bunch of you guys did say add a 3rd junction box, so I'll get a 3rd junction box on order. We'll plop her like probably right in, you know, probably right in this area somewhere, so that way we can just tee that 3rd junction box right into here. This will give me enough wiring that we should be able to tee in the rest of it, so I'll tee that junction box into this junction box. Gonna make sure that I have enough, and we'll do that. So unfortunately it seems that the red ones from where they were sitting with that tire being there are super corroded. Here's one is missing one, and one is, actually they're both missing the same side. So I got the ambers in this side. I have it running across. You can see the wire hanging down there. I'm gonna get the mounts for it, and then we'll splice into it right around this area here, run that right up to the junction box. I was gonna run this one straight to the junction box, but it was too far away, so we ran it across. We got both sides in. Now we just got to run it up. I put my dielectric grease in there. Yes, at some point I'm gonna have to come up with a solution to put like a guard here, because that is just shooting straight into it. So a little bit of a recap here, because I reused the 3 wires up there. Obviously I said that I did that. So everything that has been moved to this junction box so far have been the brakes, are going to be these 2 lights right here, and actually, to tell you the truth, I think that's about it. So everything else is still retaining the factory. We're using that junction box up there, which slowly I am going to move everything over. It just do what makes sense at the time that you're doing it. I don't have the supplies to go through and do everything, so now that I realize what I need, I'm going to go ahead and order it. This wire here is long enough to get me from that junction box to right about in here, not all the way back, which I kind of like that, because if I can put it like right around, I'd say right about here would be perfect. If I can put it in here, that gives me a little bit more room to work, as opposed to it being like right here. So I don't know 100%, but I think it's safe to assume I found where my short was coming from. That makes a lot of sense. So is that a fire hazard or just a fuse pop? Yeah, that's still pretty bad. Kaufman also needs to learn how to like, someone made mention that these trailers are made in America, and that's such a shame that a 2-year-old trailer needs rebuilt like this, because look at that. I don't even know, well, I know where these 2 wires go, but I don't know where the rest of them go, and that's kind of ridiculous. But at least I found one of what I think is the culprits. So I'm gonna get that figured out here in a little bit. Obviously I'm gonna finish this line here. I'm gonna get this run up into the junction box first, so that way at least we have the back 2 marker lights, and then I will start tackling into this. But yeah, it's kind of neat. I'll have to figure out where the rest of these go, but that explains why there was my fuse would blow all the time. Look at that. Okay, I was a little worried. This one does come on. It wasn't coming on because when I plugged it in the back, it missed the hole. You'd think a guy with 3 kids wouldn't miss the hole. That one works too. I gotta figure out, so that one works. And then nothing on this side works, because I'm pretty sure when I pulled that wire out, I pulled out its power source. So this side works. Everything back here works. You work. And then every one of these lights here work. Alright, so I started doing more digging, figuring out how Kaufman specifically wires their trailer. And I found all of the wiring for this, which I am going to take this out, just because we're going to put side lights on here. Whoever did this did actually a fairly decent job, like a really good job. So I'm not gonna knock that at all. Like, this was fairly good done, and then you can see what the factory did, and that's just awful. So what I've realized is pretty much this light here, you can see this light right there tees into this light from underneath, and then the rest of it tees into this light. And then I'm not sure if I forget or not if there was I don't think there was wiring that went across. I'm pretty sure that it teed in from back here. So I'm gonna try to take each individual side. I'll take this whole side here, run it to the junction box, and then the other side as well. That way if we ever have problems, we'll be like, okay, so this side went out, we know there's a wiring issue there. Or the other side went out, try to make it as simple as possible. But you can see, come to this light up here, this is where the harness ends. And I'm realizing that Kaufman actually does ground their lights at each individual spot. So I do see that. Makes sense as to why they were grounding them back there, but not a good spot for a ground back there in my opinion. So white wire ground, and then looks like they just cut out of this harness and are just running the red one or the black one here. So the other one is, you can see it right there, cut. All this will be fine. This side looks fairly decent and corrosive free. It's fine. This one here, also fine. Now I come back here to this side. Now here's where we start needing to figure things out, right? So I'm gonna pull on this. If I can get that out. There we go. So you can see this harness comes out nice and loose. Look at that. So that tells me this one was leaked into that one, which we did end up cutting because it was done very terribly. So what I'll do is I'll end up putting a hole like right here and running it across. And then we'll have to figure this one out over here, because I don't know how I want to wire this one, because this whole section up here, I may end up just leaving, instead of one side, it may just be the front half all teed together and then the back half all teed together, trying to decide which way to do it. There's a million different ways you can do this. It's all personal preference. There's no right or wrong way to, well, there's plenty of wrong ways to do it, but there's no like 100% right way to do this. There's a bunch of different right ways to do it. My logic, I'll probably just end up taking whatever was from, you can see this light here, I'll probably take that light over there as well, and then just tee this whole front section off into its own, which should work out pretty decent. So unfortunately I will have to, you know, go across, and we'll probably meet it down here along there, but it is what it is. Shouldn't be a super big deal. So I got the first one wired in, which is pretty much these here. So what I'm noticing is when I turn on the lights, it's only giving me like 0.4 volts, and this light is super dim, and then these two aren't working at all, and when I unplug it they all come back on normally. So what I'm going to do is I am going to undo the running wire that was the factory wiring. I'm going to undo that, and we'll turn the lights on and see if we have 12 volts, because before it was only giving me 4, so there's a short somewhere. So let's pull this guy out of here. We are actually, it looks like I'm going to ended up going on day 3 of this, so tomorrow I will be back to doing this, which sucks, but I want it done as correctly as possible, at least until I can get the rest of the parts ordered to do more of it. Turn the lights on, and hopefully all the lights work. See, those were dim. Those were very dim. Cool, so all that works. So if I hook this light up, oh yeah, look at that. See that? So I hook this wire up, so there's a short somewhere in this brown wire. So we need to cut that out. This light, this light, this light, and this light all work, meaning that this light here is on its own separate. So now I'm realizing how I'm gonna do it. So now I'll wire in the other 4. We'll get them to come to the junction box next. So we'll have all running lights down the side, and then these, this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one will all be wired to itself. So let's go over this, how we did it. Own circuit, own circuit. These 2 are by themselves in the junction box, and then these 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 will all be separate with the junction box. So cool, all this works. I did find one short, but apparently I did not find all of it. So it turns out that this guy here is the culprit. So we will end up getting rid of this one. We still have, if I come back here, we still do have turn signals. So we can keep the factory turn signal wires. Look at that. So we got 2 over there. Looks like that one's out, so we'll have to figure that one out. But for the most part, you get the point. Wiring wise, it's all good there. Now that I got those wired in, I don't know if we'll add the 3rd junction box, honestly. I would really like to, but time wise, we'll see. We'll see. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Maybe I'll order that. I'll probably just order it anyway just to have it. All right, so not only did I find the short, and you know, I found out how to break it, I then pulled this wire down even further, and it's broken up there and grounded to the frame. So no wonder the brown wire is having issues. So I can't pull that out anymore. So I don't really, at this point, I don't really know at this point what to do, because here's the brown wire that goes to the back, which in theory I should be able to reuse this one. So all of this is still good. Obviously, other than that, I'd have to cut and re-splice that. One of them's well, they're both turn signals, and then this one's the running light. So if I could run this to the junction box, we would completely eliminate the orange wire, or the brown wire here, and then we would just have to wire in the lights, because this here goes to the lights. So we'll get that to come in separately, where basically where I have that one over there, we'll have another one coming out from here. So I cut the wire right here, so any of the brown wire that's here to wherever the junction meets, I cut that out of both circuits, and now everything works. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this back section here. I'm gonna go ahead and get that to the junction box, and then I am also going to go ahead and wire in this guy here to the junction box as well. And then that means I'll be able to cut the wire up there. So you can see now, like, these all work and are up there, and then this one here, these are all by themselves. I haven't wired that circuit in, but as soon as I put that brown wire to the junction box, we'll have those. So like I said, I'll get, let's see, right there, look at that. So that works, it all works. We'll get it cut back out here in a second, because I'm not going to reuse it now that I have the chance. I've already cut it. I don't want to introduce corrosion into it, even though I could just leave it how it is. I'm not going to do that. So I do want to point out, because I know there's probably a few people that don't understand why you do junction boxes. So there is a way that you can do this without a junction box. Basically, you just run from the main harness and you just tee off to every individual light. You know, it's how factories do it. None of these guys actually use a junction box from the factory. They all just run their wire harness down, they wire all the lights in, it's one big harness, and you know, in and done. You know, they tee in each individual spot. I'll show you how the factory does it on these. They cut the harness open, and then they throw a butt connector in there, and that's basically their way of saying, oh, well and good. Okay, why a junction box? Well, you guys could see that this wire here was causing a short. So what do? Rather than trying to cut into each individual harness to figure out where the short's coming from, you can unhook each individual wire, or this gives you a spot to test. So obviously we're having an issue here. We're not anymore, but now I'm gonna cut this wire because I've already, you guys can see, let's cut that off. So got it cut. Basically this harness here, I now have wired into the junction box that's down here. This gives you a place of diagnostic. It gives you a place of diagnostic. So instead of trying to cut into the harness and figure out where your short's coming from, why your truck's blowing fuses, you can now figure out where it is. You can tee it down. So say if there's an issue up here, you verify that it has power and it's not shorted from here. Great, all well and good. Now you check the next set of harness, and so on and so forth. Gives you a lot easier of a way to check and verify that everything works. Now, turning everything on, you saw that we cut the wire. There's no wire there now, so, and all the 3 middle lights work. Look at that, every light works now up to this point right here. This one's wired into the junction box, these 2 separate. So now we just need to hook in these last ones here, which won't be all that hard. I'm gonna come back tomorrow. I'm gonna have to take off tomorrow just to get this all done and like all wrapped up and whatnot, and then I'll go get the rest of the parts ordered. I did verify, I had to verify, because I'm like, I saw that there was 2-inch ones and then there's 2.5-inch ones, and I accidentally ordered 2-inch ones for my last trailer and they were 2.5, and that was a whoopsie. I didn't know there was a difference. Apparently, well, obviously it's a 1/2-inch difference, but I didn't know that there was a 2-inch versus a 2.5-inch. I had no idea. So now I do. So I'm gonna go ahead and order some. And just for the record, I did think that there was something wrong, because I didn't notice the lights were going out until I plugged this one in. And I was like, oh, okay, there's probably messing with that. Well, it turns out it's not that light, it was that junction spot in general. So I just have one more wire to run to the junction box. You guys can see the little bit of mess in there. That's what we're working with. Obviously gonna want to put something on anything coming out of the frame. We are gonna have to put like something in there to isolate it so that it doesn't rub issues down in the future. But definitely trying to do this a lot better than the factory. It's gonna happen. You know, we're slowly there. We've got the front half taken care of. We just need to get the back half taken care of. So I can do this one more wire, but I do need to get more wiring for this last brake. So legally cannot drive it without the back axle hooked up to brakes. All right, well, moment of truth. You can see everything is off. Oh, look at that, nice and bright. That's the way we want to see it. All of those lights, every light. I haven't even checked them yet. Oh, I see a light in the back. I see a light. I see a light over there too. Oh, look at that. That's awesome. Every light works. Cool. So I'm gonna get cleaned up. I'm going to, well, you guys can see, I didn't even have to run this one, so I'll have to cut that wire out. But I'm gonna finish this up tomorrow because I'm kind of getting tired. I'll save the wiring from the other stuff so that I can at least do the back brake. So I'm gonna run out of daylight before I can get it dark. It looks a lot brighter than it is, but you can see the sun's like right there. So it's about to cross down. All right guys, now just to recap why we went through and did everything. We got everything taken care of. So everything is all, like I said, wired in besides the brakes. But now if anything ever fails, everything has its own circuit. Anything, well, not its own circuit, but you get the point. Like these lights have their own individual wiring. This side light and that side light and these lights all have their own individual wiring. So if anything fails or shorts out, we can start diagnosing things a lot easier and breaking things down into sections. Whereas like backlights have a section. Section. It's all got its own section, makes this so much easier. I don't ever have to worry about electrical problems again, because I came out here the other morning, I went and turned the truck on and all the lights went out and I'm like, what the hell? And then I hit a bump and they all came back on and I'm like, what the hell? And then I get halfway down the road and they all went back out and I'm like, what is going on? So no idea. Well, I do have an idea now. I know exactly what it was. It was that little junction right there, and it's like the same thing with the trailers. The trailer had a shorting problem, and it turns out it was 2 of the cross wires in the axles that were giving me issues. So this wiring, I don't know, this is what they use. It doesn't look like 14 gauge, to tell you the truth. It looks probably like 16 gauge, which is why the 14 gauge, in my opinion, should do it. Like I said, if it doesn't, we will definitely, if we ever have to do this again or break little sections down, I will eventually move up to a 12 or a 10. 12 will probably work a lot better. 10 is for mainly the power wires, so like the power and ground and whatnot. Learned a lot from that. Are specifically grounded to the junction box, and then each individual light, I didn't notice this at first, but they are all grounded, you know, by themselves right there. Don't know why they do it that way. I mean, I get it, you know, they run a lot less wiring through the trailer. It makes sense, but I don't know why they run like triple wire the whole way down when they can just ground them all. They use the same amount of wire the entire way, I've noticed, because even if they run it to a junction box or they run it across, they're using the same amount of wire because they're leaving the wire in the harness. So it doesn't make sense to me. I'm gonna leave this stuff here overnight, knowing that I'll be using it in the morning. I always leave my straps and whatnot. All in all, relatively simple day. Hopefully we don't have to do any more trailer wiring for a while, but trailer, you know, wiring, it really doesn't bother. I forgot you are not. It's not in first gear. Whoops. That could have been interesting. Which at some point I'm also going to be looking for a new rear end for this truck. I do want to get 410 rears, a whole new thing, because when I bought this rear end, I had to weld the perches on because it was under a Ford for some reason. So I definitely want to go and get another OEM pumpkin and axle assembly just because of that being the case. So I would like to get something that the perches are in the factory location. It is reverse leveled, so maybe a 2-wheel drive rear end will work, but it's still like, I don't know if you guys can see this, like it's reverse leveled, but the whole truck, it still has that 4-wheel drive stance. So I haven't never found some Hemi springs. I would like to bring this truck down a little bit, so maybe a 2-wheel drive rear end will work. But other than that, it's pretty much gonna do it for the rest of the video. I was doing some digging yesterday on, remember I said about Bitcoin in Ukraine, $4.7 million was donated to Ukraine through Ethereum and $4 million through Bitcoin. I found the contract addresses that they were sending them to for Ukraine. They are accepting Bitcoin and Ethereum as donations because they're actually shutting down money transfers from banks, because that's what the government can do. They can do pretty much whatever they want. Same with Patreon. Patreon did that shit with $250,000 in donations as well. So that is why cryptocurrency is super important, because you can't stop it no matter what. And Canada is proving that right now, trying to ban cryptocurrencies. You can't. If you guys want to help out Ukraine or just spread the word with what's going on over there, I am basically just doing what I can and spreading the word as much as possible. But if you do and you can support and you can donate, these places are accepting cryptocurrencies, as well as if you can send donations, whatever you can do. But hope you guys enjoyed. See you in the next video. Stay safe out there, and don't buy Kaufman trailers apparently, because they're just learning my lesson. See ya.